Everyone thinks that the doubly disambiguated bishop capture checkmate is the rarest checkmate in chess. But after this video by Paralogical was released, many people got this checkmate like Hikaru and Croissant. So let me introduce you to the new rarest checkmate. The double reset checkmate! In order to get this checkmate, there is a 5-step plan. I have to take all my opponent's pieces without losing a single piece, reset my pieces to the original squares, promote all my pawns, move all the promoted pawns to the other side of the board, and then give a checkmate. All without stalemating, and your opponent resigning. Upcoming, I will be using secret strategies to get this checkmate. Firstly, I need to get the reset checkmate. There are 2 strategies to get the reset mate. Option 1 is to keep all your pieces on the board and checkmate from there, or to promote all your pawns to get the mate. But for the double reset checkmate, this didn't matter since I had to do both. But then I ran into my first problem. After playing a couple more games, a problem started to form. I could not get into a good endgame with enough pawns. So after taking inspiration from Croissant's video, I started to try different openings. The first opening was Croissant's home, the French defense. Since this is Croissant's opening, I hope it will bring me good luck. And then after a couple of moves, I won this guy's bishop and then his rook. This put me into a very good endgame, having just enough pawns and pieces to get the reset mate. This is only the first part of getting this checkmate. Going back to the game, all I needed to do was promote all my pawns and not accidentally give a checkmate. The second game playing the Croissant's opening, I won his rook and got into a good endgame like last time. We both had queens in the endgame, he couldn't give any checks, but I lost for reasons fully out of my control. So next I decided to try the bong cloud, which was one of the worst decisions of my life. Moving on, I am going to play this weird opening that was named after me, Sicilian Defense Brick Variation. You might think this is a bad opening, but there are a lot of tactics by moving your knight to the corner. You basically play the king's gambit, and if they decline, you start a massive kingside attack. And look, I have already won a rookie. And then after taking all his pieces, I ended up in a good endgame. But sadly, my opponent didn't have enough time to stall. But this shows the power of the brick opening. So all I need to do to get in a good endgame is to play the brick opening as white and the French as black. Now I know what 2 openings I want. I decided to do some studying on how to even get the checkmate. So I started off and watched Daddy Croissant's video to see what he did to get checkmate. After analyzing the video, I discovered the secret to get the checkmate. He ate grapes. So I have to ride to the shop to buy some grapes. Okay, I am going to rank which grape is the best. So here's some grape ASMR. Honestly, the grape 1 was very good. Now moving on to grape 2, a croissant. Even though a croissant isn't a grape, I just love croissants and I believe that it will give me 10 extra brain cells, which would quadruple the amount of brain cells I already have. This was the best food I had in years. After that, I watched a man's game who created the reset checkmate. What I was most interested in was how he got that checkmate. So first he resets his pieces, then he brings out his rook and queen to ladder check his king to the other side of the board. He then ladder checks him to the left side, returns his rook to its home square, and checkmates him. That looks easy enough, so I decided to practice this checkmate with a chess.com bot. The first couple of games I kept getting stalemates, but eventually I got the hang of it, so I started playing my brother to see if it would work in a real game. Like the good brother I was, I just decided to troll him and waste his time. So I switched back to playing real games after my brother rage quit. Then I was matched against this guy called Darlikabral. I asked him to not resign in chat since I was up a bishop. After a couple moves, I took all his pieces, but he was too low on time. Knowing that there could be another guy like Darlikabral out there gave me the confidence that I could get this checkmate. But in the next game, my opponent had some brain cell malfunction. He sacrificed his bishop, then he lost his rook. All I need to do now is to trade off pieces to get the checkmate, but then my opponent realized he doesn't love his wife anymore and sacrificed her for a bishop. As long as this guy doesn't resign, we are getting this checkmate. After that game, I got into another good game. I had more than enough pieces to get the mate. He also had a lot of time, and he hasn't resigned yet. But like always, my plan never works. So I hopped on Discord to ask Croissant for help. Croissant told me to make sure I have memorized the checkmate sequence and have enough pawns for the endgame. This gave me confidence since I was already doing it. After that confident boost, I got paired up against Onyx. You see, now my elo was around 400. People stopped resigning like Onyx. After he blundered his queen, both his towers were later bombed as well. You see, in this position, I can take the rook, but there is a high chance that he will take my pawn. If I lose that pawn, I can't complete the reset mate. But I got that rook after a couple of moves. This endgame was very easy for me. First, I took his pawn and promoted a couple of pieces, but then I did this. Why does this always happen to me? At this point, I knew the checkmate was close. In the lower elos, people are way nicer and actually respond to my requests. As usual, I was up 8 points of material. And now a queen as well. Now we were set for success. There is no way that I can stalemate from this position until I promote all my pieces, and he also promised me that he won't resign. It's the first time attempting the checkmate sequence. So you first ladder check the king up, then make sure your rook is in front of the king to avoid stalemates. Then ladder check him to the left side, but then I forgot what to do next, so I brought my rook down, which turned out to be a huge mistake. If I perfected the checkmate sequence like Croissant told me, I would have got the checkmate. I was severely depressed after that game, and it would be funny if I did the same thing back to back. I decided to start the conversation with a high this time, since the last few attempts at having a conversation were like my therapist's hope. Non-existent. You know what else is non-existent? My subscriber growth. So if you have watched this far into the video, please consider subscribing. Now this game was not too special, I was only up a rook. I thought it would be a good idea to trade off all my pieces since I had a big pawn chain. After advancing my pawns up, my opponent almost gave up. Another method that I used to make sure that the opponent didn't resign was to give them motivation. In this case, I just started begging. So then after a couple moves, I have successfully promoted all my pieces. Now it's the part I have been dreading, the checkmate pattern. I also didn't relearn the checkmate, so it's going to be hard. Okay, so I need to move the king to the left side of the board, and then a couple moves later. Yeah, I made the same mistake twice. But at least now, I know what I did wrong. You see, this move was the mistake. The rook was supposed to go 1 square lower to open up space for the king, so the g6 square will be free. And then everything went downhill from here. I started to believe that resign was spelled reasing and there was non-stop resignation. In this period, I was thinking of quitting the challenge, because if I couldn't even get the reset checkmate, how am I supposed to get the double reset mate? But I knew that I couldn't give up now, since I didn't want to waste all that time for nothing. Then, after getting partially close to the mate, this game happened. I started off asking him if he could not resign. Seeing that he took a long time to respond, I went on my phone to Google Translate it into French, but when I looked up, he already responded. Going back to the game, I played the London against a Zacco who was from Coissants land. The game was even so far, so I set up a forking trap which he did not see. I was so good at trapping kids back then, they used to call me the master baiter. Then after a couple more moves, he baited me with a free bishop for a rook. Maybe he was also a masturbator when he was younger. 1 million likes, I fly to Croissant land, and there will be 2 masturbators together. After trading all my pieces, I was only up a bishop, but luckily he decided to keep his queen in a useless spot, which allowed me to promote my pawn. He decided to sacrifice his queen, but he promised that he wouldn't resign, so I shouldn't worry about that and promote my pawns. He promised me that he wasn't going to resign. Don't worry, I reported him later for using cheats. Like last time, I asked my opponent if he would not resign. Even though he said yes, I have lost all trust in chess players. I thought he was going to abandon the game just to troll me, but then he started to move. He also played my favorite opening line of the Trampowski. The game looked pretty even until he decided to blunder his knight for no reason. Then, after trading off most of my pieces, I developed my king and took all of my opponent's pawns. And then he lost his rook, so all I need to do now is to take the last pawn, trap his king, and then promote all my pawns. After doing so, I had to start the checkmate pattern again. Now that I know where not to place my rook, the plan was foolproof. If I didn't get the checkmate here, everyone will be disappointed in me. As the saying goes, the time is the third charm. I really wanted to celebrate, but my job isn't finished yet. I still have to get the double reset checkmate. I had a secret plan upcoming to get it. You see, this happiness was short-lived. I can't lose any piece or even trade, since I needed all my pawns to promote on the other side. So I played very passive openings, hoping that my opponent will blunder all his pieces, like whatever this opening is. When I try to get the double reset checkmate, I need to change my playing style. Like, I cannot fork the queen and the bishop with a pawn because the knight can sacrifice himself for a pawn, which ruins my plan. Okay, so here is a rundown of my average game. I start by playing the most passive opening known to mankind. Then, when my opponent starts to attack, he will eventually blunder since he is only a 100 ELO player. When I am up points and up positionally, I start to find a way to attack, which creates pressure for my opponents. My goal here is to create potential blunders that my opponent might make. After attacking my 100 ELO opponents, they always get an urge to sacrifice a piece for a pawn for no reason. Then I will resign because there is no point in playing the game. Then I was paired against Zach. He had the audacity to say no when I asked him so nicely. So now my new goal was to destroy Zach. I knew I was about to win since I had so much aura. This was evident when he sacrificed his knight. You see, I am not angry because my new goal is to destroy Zach, not the double reset checkmate. After a couple of moves, I was winning by a landslide. Honestly, while editing, I don't know why I didn't trash talk him in the chat. Once he blundered his last piece, I took all his pawns. Now this is when the pain starts. So then I promoted all my pawns, even though I was one pawn off from the reset checkmate. Now, instead of checkmating him, I am just going to play with his king. But a better idea that I didn't think of was to get a mate in one position, and then offer him a draw, then checkmate him before he could press accept. I saw this method in a Croissant vid, but I did it. I made Zach's life miserable. So Zach, if you are watching this, you suck. Now it's time for my secret strategy. If you didn't see it in my last game, the strategy is called begging. Technically, this isn't cheating, and it is still in a real game. So after chit-chatting for a while with Queenie, he or she decided to let me take all his pieces. So that's what I did. While I was promoting my pawns, I also taught Queenie that we both have to make the same moves to get a repetition draw because he was scared that if he moved his king in the same 2 spots, it will become a draw. Now I was a couple of moves away from getting the checkmate. I was scared that I would mess this up, and all the time spent on this would go to waste. This was it. There was mate in one. I did it. After days of torture, I finally did it. Queenie, if you're watching this, I am sorry I left you in the next game. My internet cut off.